So Brian, the first one that we want to talk about is upfront costs. One of the things that I hear the most about solar is it's got a high upfront cost, a lot of money that you have to put down. Can you address this concern and explain any financing options, maybe some incentives that can help make solar more affordable to homeowners?
Man, I hear the opposite. All I hear about is free solar, free batteries, free roofs. Everything's free. The governor's giving you everything for free. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. Obviously, we know that there's really nothing that's free, right? There's a cost to that somewhere, and we see a lot of it in social media and online that is really pumping. That this is a giveaway. It's a free giveaway, and what it comes down to is that they're they're what they're really trying to convey is their lead generation sites, and they're trying to get you to click. It's a lot of clickbait, but what it comes down to is that there's no upfront costs. So what they're saying is zero down and a quote unquote free solar installation that you then pay for on a rate structure. Now these are usually what we call third party ownership options or leases or power purchase agreements. Power purchase agreement is very common, and that's where you're agreeing to buy the solar power that your panels create at a lower cost per kilowatt hour than you're paying the utility right now. And that usually has an escalator that goes up annually and would be less than what the utility is going up. So in effect, it's a win, right? But messaging it as free solar is obviously misleading, and it gets around the neighborhood and the community, and then it becomes a lot of confusion, and gives our industry a bad name oftentimes, or at least creates a lot of confusion, and people are really hesitant to understand how solar works because they kept hearing it was free. Where in reality, it's when people ask me, I say, yeah, we do the free solar that you pay for the next 25 years as well. So that generally speaking, the barrier to going solar is very low. It's usually no money down or a low money down to go solar, and then there is a variety of financial mechanisms. The ones I was just speaking about. The third party options are one kind of group of mechanisms. There's also a variety of loans, um, and our the industry and really the industry around the finances of solar has matured tremendously. So the finance options have treatments for the incentive programs, be it tax credits or local rebates, and a variety of other local incentives as well, because they want to make solar more accessible as well. And they want to make it easy. And the idea of any of the solar financing is that you're saving money month one. So a lot of folks also ask, well, what's the payback? Well, if you're financing, generally speaking, your quote unquote payback is month one, because you're paying less for your electricity than you were previously.
All right, our next one that we want to talk about is efficiency, and specifically during all weather types. We know that solar power is great on sunny days, but we have a lot of cloudy days or even snowy weather here in New England. How are those types of days addressed?
Yeah, we model homes by where they exist on the earth, right? So um, through the tools that we have, through satellite imagery, lidar, and then actual more recent mapping through planes flying overhead, we have some really quality data about where the homes are, what the site conditions are, and all of those coordinates lead to an average precipitation, average amount of cloudy days, average amount of sunny days, and that's all modeled into the mix to guide homeowners on what their systems will do for a performance. Um, it's funny because heat is one of the biggest detractors from production with solar panels. If we want it to be sunny, but we don't want it to be too hot, because they actually become less efficient in really hot weather. Here in New England, it's not as much of an issue, but the closer to the equator you get, heat plays a role. And they're more worried about dissipating heat, making sure that there's good ventilation so that the product and the panels can produce effectively. Here we have varying conditions, right? Like you mentioned, cloudy days, rainy days. We have really hot and humid days. We have windy days. We have bluebird days in March, which could be the most productive days of the year because there's no humidity, there's no breeze, and you'll see some outliers on your production data showing that, like, wow, the biggest day of the year was actually, March 20th because there was enough sun, and there was no other weather conditions to impact the production. But all those things are factored in, and we do see data throughout the years that shows, okay, a really unusually rainy spring or unusually snowy winter will impact the average data and average production to a certain extent. But overall, the model is there for where your home or business is situated, and that weather data, historical weather data, to predict an accurate production model.
And as we've talked about before, you might be producing more than you need in certain months, like the summer, or maybe occasionally on a sunny day in March or something like that. And then other days that are cloudy or rainy, or in the winter, you're producing less, but it'll all kind of like average out throughout the year.
Essentially, right? So we're gonna use those scientific factors to model what the annual production will be. And like you said, you might have some wins in some parts of the year, and some seasons, and you might have a couple losses in another couple parts of the year. But it, generally speaking, comes out in the end to be really accurate modeling, and folks to get into production that they were told they were going to get.
What about concerns that people might have about maintenance that might be difficult to maintain solar panels? Is there a lot of maintenance that's required on solar panels, and are there any ongoing costs associated with keeping them functioning?
Simply no. And we're fortunate in our part of the country that we do have some precipitation, and we do have snow that will clean the panels, quote unquote. We don't have a high dust volume here in the Northeast. If you're talking about the Southwest, dust is more of a concern, and there are some panel cleaning that you might need to do. But here, the biggest thing that we see is maybe a pollen bloom, like a significant pollen bloom, which will put a coating of pollen over the panels, and that will play a role in the production in the short term. And folks do ask, hey, what do I do? I got my panels are yellow; they're covered with pollen, and I just want them to wait till it rains. A good rainstorm will clean the panels off just fine and get you back to producing. And so there's no moving parts in the solar system, so there's no wear and tear, and there's really no maintenance associated with a solar system. The only thing is any service. So the electronics or the wiring, things like that, over time could require service if there's a failure or a disruption in the equipment, but that's not common, and there's really no ongoing maintenance. We don't sell any service packages or ongoing maintenance packages because they're not really needed.